The perfect family tea. The Walkers. Your classic, painfully average American family. The type you'd expect to see in an insurance ad or a small-town crime documentary. Clean lawn, church on Sundays, enough emotional repression to power a mid-sized cult. Dad, local handyman by trade, self-appointed moral overlord by choice, communicates exclusively in grunts, Bible verses, and passive-aggressive sighs, displays roughly the same level of affection as a traffic cone. Mom, always in the kitchen, physically present but emotionally AWOL since 2003, smiles in public, stares blankly at cereal boxes in private. Her catchphrase? Everything's fine. Spoiler, it's very much not. And then there's Timmy, 9 years old, mildly rebellious, and by rebellious, I mean he once said, damn, after stubbing his toe. Basically the Antichrist, according to Dad. He liked reading, asking questions, and having a personality. Dangerous stuff in that house. At first glance, they look like the cover of a 1950s parenting manual, but underneath, it's all eggshells and Bible verses used as blunt force trauma. Imagine Leave It to Beaver, but directed by Jordan Peele. You'd never guess this cheery little family was on the verge of becoming a true crime headline. But hey, in America loves a twist, and this one comes with padlocks. From the outside, picture perfect. From the inside, one minor outburst away from a hostage situation. Spoiler, that's not a metaphor. Timmy goes missing. So, one day, Timmy just vanishes. No warning, no suitcase, not even a dramatic door slam for effect. 1 minute he's there. 9 years old, mildly annoying, very much a human boy. And the next, gone. Like a fart in the wind. Now you'd think this would cause some concern. Maybe a tearful phone call to the police, a little media coverage, perhaps even a flyer or two stapled to a lamppost. But no. There's no police report, no community search, not even a nosy neighbor banging on the door asking where the kid's gone. Nothing. Everyone just accepts it. Shrugs, moves on, like the boy never existed in the first place. And the explanation? Oh, you're going to love this. He's with an uncle in Alaska. Because obviously when your 9-year-old disappears, it's completely reasonable to assume he's embarked on an extended solo holiday to the Arctic Circle. No return date, no phone calls, no visible plane ticket. Just vibes. Not a single person asks which uncle, or why Alaska, or how a small child got through airport security in a cartoon pajama set. The school, silent. The neighbors, smiling politely and pretending not to notice. The boarded-up upstairs window, classic suburbia. And the community, too busy mowing their lawns and repressing trauma to ask questions. Honestly, it's impressive how much denial can be packed into one zip code. And so just like that, poof, Timmy becomes a ghost. No vigils, no missing posters. Just a vague story about an uncle in a growing silence, where a child used to be. But sure, Alaska sounds legit. So remember how Timmy mysteriously vanished. Like, poof, no trace, no note. Not even a half-eaten sandwich left behind? Well, plot twist. He wasn't missing. He was upstairs, in his own bedroom, for 10 years, locked in like a bloody houseplant nobody watered. Apparently the kid had committed the unforgivable sin of having a personality. He swore once, and suddenly Dad decided the boy needed full-blown exorcism via incarceration. Because nothing says effective parenting quite like transforming your child's bedroom into a homebrew version of Guantanamo. I mean, fair play to the old man. It takes a certain level of twisted creativity to look at a child's sanctuary and think, what this needs is fewer windows, more psychological torment. And here's the kicker, everyone bought it. Mom, oh, Timmy's staying with Uncle Dave in Alaska, which is apparently the suburban code for trapped upstairs and talking to mold. Neighbors, not a peep. Didn't hear the thuds, the muffled cries, or the literal decade of silence. But sure, let's all just keep smiling over the hedge while a child rots upstairs like a forgotten Tupperware in the back of the fridge. Honestly, you could scream, into a pillow for 5 years, and still not match the sheer what the hell of this situation, lies, alibis, and Alaska. So the family's official story? Oh, Timmy's with his uncle. In Alaska, yes, Alaska. Because if you're going to lie about where your child's gone, may as well pick the coldest, most remote place possible, where people don't casually visit. Uncle who? No surname, no phone number, no Christmas cards. Just the uncle. Very convenient. Like Bigfoot, but somehow less traceable. Apparently young boys now go on 10-year ice holidays without anyone blinking. Not a single nosy neighbor asked a thing. The PTA didn't notice. School didn't call. Even the mailman just shrugged and carried on. Because suburban America loves a mystery as long as it doesn't involve doing paperwork. And let's just pause to appreciate the brilliance of the Alaska excuse. It's not even a good lie. It's basically saying, he's on another planet, please don't ask. But did anyone ask? No, of course not. Because suburbia isn't built on trust. It's built on willful ignorance, wrapped in casseroles and church newsletters. You've got a kid who vanished overnight, and the response from the community is basically, well, that's none of our business. Or worse, he's probably having a lovely time with polar bears and Jesus. It's like someone said, hey, what if we took every red flag and just decorated the front lawn with it? And everyone else went, cute, patriotic. Deep down they knew. Of course they did. But knowing means acknowledging, and acknowledging means doing something. And we don't do that here. Not in Pleasantville, USA. Here, we smile, mow the lawn, and pretend there's no child screaming behind the upstairs drywall. It's a masterclass in emotional insulation. Everyone's wearing noise-canceling, headphones made of denial, God, and baked goods. Meanwhile, Timmy's upstairs, playing tic-tac-toe with existential dread. The room, if you can call it that. Right. So let's talk about the room. And I use room in the loosest possible sense technically. 4 walls and a door, but spiritually. A padded cell, designed by someone who failed basic empathy and passed cruelty with honors. No books, no telly, no windows. Just a sad little mattress, a crusty bucket, and the unrelenting soundtrack of his own thoughts. You know, the usual childhood essentials. If you're being raised by a Bond villain on a tight budget. Timmy's day-to-day: wake up, stare at the wall, count the mold spots, maybe scream into the void for variety. He probably had conversations with spiders just for social stimulation, and honestly they were likely more emotionally available than his dad. By year 2, he'd probably named them. Gary the daddy longlegs was head of house. Sheila, the woodlouse, ran spiritual guidance. Honestly, by year 5, Timmy had probably invented an entire society in his head. Might have started a religion. Genuinely wouldn't blame him. This wasn't grounding. This wasn't tough love. This was isolation so complete it makes solitary confinement look like a group retreat. 10 years of this. 10 years. At that point, your only hobby is quietly going mad in installments. And meanwhile, the parents, just downstairs living their lives, watching telly, baking casseroles, probably arguing about what to get from Costco, while upstairs their son is slowly becoming Gollum in a tracksuit. But sure, call it parenting. Why not? We're clearly beyond the boundaries of logic now. So let's just roll with it. The accidental escape. Right, so here we are, year 10 of let's keep the child in the bedroom, because God said so, and things are going great. Timmy's built a relationship with the wall mold. Mom's pretending not to hear. The soft weeping through the vents, and Dad is still prancing around like he's the Pope of punishment. And then one night it happens. The moment, the twist, the plot crack in this suburban psychological thriller. Dad, the same man who's been religiously locking that door every night for a decade, like it's Fort Knox guarding the holy grail of dysfunction, forgets, just doesn't lock it. You know, like when you forget your phone charger or where you park the car, except it's your imprisoned child. Tiny oversight, totally relatable. Massive villains fail 10-10 blunder. The kind of mistake that gets you booted from the evil dad league with a strongly worded letter from Darth Vader himself. Now Timmy blesses him and has spent a decade rehearsing this escape. In his head, he's got no clue what's out there anymore. For all he knows, the world ended, and his parents are the only survivors of the apocalypse. But he peeks through that door like he's a character in a horror film. Only he's the ghost in the house, is haunted by the living, and what does he find? Fire chaos. A panicked mom realizing her child has returned from the attic. Like some twisted Dickensian redemption arc. No, he finds mom on the sofa, watching The Bachelor. Like nothing's wrong. Like her son isn't supposed to be 3,000 miles away being homeschooled by a mountain hermit. She doesn't even flinch at first. Probably thinks he's a contestant who wandered off set. And Timmy in peak cinema level, trauma cool, just goes, "Hi mom, remember me." Cue emotional earthquake. Mom screams, or maybe she cries, or maybe both at once. Because emotions in this house are like the plumbing, clogged, rusty, and prone to exploding at random. It's the moment the facade cracks, the glittery suburban lie, the decade of silence, the bizarre Alaskan uncle cover story. All of it starts to unravel. Like you can hear the Lifetime movie score swelling in the background. Meanwhile, Timmy's just standing there, barefoot, traumatized, blinking in the light like a mole, dragged from the earth. And this woman's got the absolute audacity to act surprised. I mean, darling, he was upstairs for 10 years. How many times did she dust that doorknob and think, sounds like someone's crying behind this wall? Probably nothing. Was she in on it? Was she not in on it? Was she just very, very committed to denial? We'll never know, but what we do know is this. A child just walked out of a makeshift prison and into his own living room, and reality, as they say, has left the building. It's glorious, it's messy, it's absolutely unhinged, and it's just getting started. So picture this. Timmy, now looking like a half-feral raccoon in joggers, strolls into the living room like it's the most normal thing in the world, even though he hasn't been seen since Obama was in office. And what does he find? Mom sitting on the sofa watching The Bachelor in a house, where her child has allegedly been in Alaska for 10 years, which, let's be honest, it was always a bit of a suspicious holiday length, and the room goes absolutely feral. Mom does what any emotionally repressed suburban mother would do upon seeing the ghost of her son emerge from upstairs purgatory. She screams loudly, repeatedly, as if trying to expel every bad decision she's ever made via her vocal cords, then collapses because apparently, when reality checks in, so does the fainting. 10/10 performance. BAFTA-worthy, honestly. Enter Dad. Stomps in like he's the misunderstood hero of this horror film. Sees Timmy, sees Mom sobbing, sees the emotional nuclear fallout, and decides in all his infinite wisdom that now is a great time for a sermon. Because yes, clearly what this situation needs is more righteousness. He starts rambling about discipline and morality and saving his son's soul, because apparently kidnapping and psychological torture are fine if you do it for Jesus, which frankly is a bit rich coming from the man who locked a child in a room with a bucket and called it parenting. Anyway, and someone finally decides to call the actual police about 8 years too late. But hey, better traumatized than never. And when the officers show up, let's just say they're not in the mood for evangelical fairy tales, Dad, bless him, still tries to explain. It was for his own good, he says without a hint of irony. Like he didn't just spend a decade LARPing as the prison warden from Shawshank Redemption. The officers, understandably, have had enough of this nonsense. They look at the boarded-up windows, the filthy mattress, the trauma, child standing in oversized socks, and they just go, right, that's quite enough out of you, mate. They slap the cuffs on him like it's Christmas morning, and he's the last present under the tree. And honestly, it's a bit cathartic. Like watching the villain in a soap opera finally get pushed down a flight of stairs. You don't cheer exactly, but something deep in your soul unclenches. Mom's still sobbing, Dad's quoting Leviticus, Timmy's standing. They're blinking like someone who's never seen a television on before. It's not justice, not yet, but it's a start. And for once, someone in the room is doing the right thing. The police look at Timmy, look at the wreckage of this twisted little domestic horror show and go, "Yeah, you're coming with us, son." And just like that, the nightmare begins to unravel. It's not over, not by a long shot. But the first door has opened, and this time he gets to walk out. 8 courtroom madness. The courtroom is beige and miserable. Like if existential dread had a decorating budget, Dad is already sweating before. The clerk finishes reading the charges. Something about the artificial light and the presence of consequences. Does that to a man who's only ever been accountable to his own ego and a stack of religious pamphlets from 1997. He launches into a rant before anyone even asks him a question. Morality TikTok, the collapse of the nuclear family, demons in the tap water. Vaccines are probably involved too. But the judge cuts him off. Before we reach that particular flavor of nonsense, he tries to stare down the jury like he's giving a sermon, but they are a group of deeply tired citizens who were promised sandwiches and civil parking disputes, not a deranged man yelling about how the devil hides in Fortnite and feminism. The defense gives it a go. They really do. They shuffle papers and adjust their glasses and clear their throat, like they're about to unveil something profound. What they actually say is religious discipline, as if that's a get-out-of-jail-free card and not a tired excuse, wrapped in spiritual delusion and duct tape. The judge blinks twice in pure judicial disbelief. One of the jurors makes the kind of noise you usually reserve for stubbed toes and burnt toast. The prosecution doesn't even have to try anymore. They just sit back and let the lunacy speak for itself. Then Timmy takes the stand, and the room finally shuts the hell up. He looks smaller under the fluorescence, dressed in borrowed clothes that don't quite fit, still walking, like he expects the floor to fall out from under him. But he speaks. He tells them about the room, about the darkness, about the quiet that got so loud it started to echo. He talks about birthdays, marked by calendar scratches, about meals that came with sermons and silence, about screaming into a wall until even the echoes gave up. His voice breaks once, twice, but he keeps going, like someone who knows this is the last time he ever has to explain why he was gone. By the end, one of the jurors is holding their face like grief physically hurts, which honestly it does. Dad tries to interject. The judge tells him to shut up. It is maybe the only moment of true peace this courtroom has ever known. The jury doesn't take long. They don't need long. Guilty. On everything. With emphasis. Dad looks like someone just told him Jesus unfollowed him on social media. Mom cries again, but it's quieter now, like something inside her finally cracked in the right direction. And Timmy just exhales. Not relief exactly, but something close. Timmy's new life, kind of. So here we are, 19 years old. Legally an adult. Emotionally somewhere between a haunted house and a houseplant. Timmy is free now, which sounds great in theory. In reality, it looks like this. Therapy 4 times a week, a hoodie that could double as a sleeping bag, and the social skills of a particularly anxious chair. He lives in a halfway home, with beige walls and softly spoken staff. They give him space and chamomile tea and pamphlets with words like healing and trauma and reintegration. He nods a lot, mostly because he doesn't know how to say I have no idea what I'm doing without sounding like a live grenade with abandonment issues. He learns slowly how to cook instant noodles without crying, how to speak in rooms that don't echo, how to look someone in the eye for more than 3 seconds without feeling like he's about to be struck by lightning. He still flinches when doors creak. He jumps when phones ring. He freezes every time someone says his name, like it might be followed by a command or a punishment or a reminder that survival was never meant to be this complicated. But he's trying. He gets a part-time job at a library, shelving books. It's quiet there, smells like old paper and soft carpets, and nobody asks him to smile. He makes one friend. Her name is Chloe. She has pink headphones and no filter, and she talks like someone who's never been told to shut up. Timmy finds her confusing, then comforting, then essential. He doesn't tell her everything, but he tells her enough, and she doesn't look away, which is new, which is terrifying, which is maybe hope. He buys a phone. He learns how to text. He uses too many dots and no emojis. But he's learning, one awkward thumbs up at a time. Therapy is weird. Sometimes he talks for an hour about breakfast cereal and the therapist still manages to make it about trust. Sometimes he says nothing, just stares at the wall while they wait for the floodgates to give out again. But the important thing, the thing that matters, is that he keeps showing up. He's not healed. He's not whole. He's not even okay most days. But he is not in that room anymore. And sometimes, when he walks outside and feels the sun on his face, when the wind doesn't sound like footsteps, when his heartbeat doesn't feel like a warning, sometimes he thinks, maybe this is what starting over feels like. Unsteady, ungraceful. But his 10, the internet reacts as it does. It starts with a news headline. Boy found after 10 years in captivity. It's vague and dramatic and just clickbaity. Enough to launch 1,000 comment sections into moral overdrive. Reddit catches fire within the hour. There's a mega thread. There's a conspiracy sub. There's a guy in the comments claiming he always knew something was off about Alaska. No one corrects him because this is the internet and facts are more of a suggestion than a requirement. TikTok is next. Teenagers lip-syncing to courtroom audio. Sad piano music under grainy photos of Timmy in that oversized hoodie. Someone makes an animated reenactment using Minecraft. Someone else does a what I would have done if I were Timmy's therapist video in a sparkly filter and a fake British accent. It goes viral. YouTube goes full true crime. Documentary mood. Dark thumbnails. Scary music. Bold white text. Some guy with a microphone. And too much free time explains Timmy's trauma over stock footage of rain and abandoned playground. Part 1 gets 7 million views. Part 2 is mostly speculation and poorly edited courtroom sketches. The comment section is a mix of justice for Timmy and have you tried grounding and drinking more water. Then the influencers arrive. They smell tragedy like it's a new launch from Glossier. A lifestyle vlogger offers Timmy a healing retreat in Bali. A wellness guru makes a 5-minute video titled, How I Escaped My Own Mental Prison. Timmy's story inspired me. A medium claims she's channeling his inner child for peace and clarity. She also sells candles. Several podcasts reach out. 3 documentaries are announced. 2 with actual budgets. 1 with dramatic reenactments starring a child actor who is far too attractive to have lived in a basement for a decade. Everyone is outraged. Everyone is horrified. Everyone is subscribed. Timmy, meanwhile, just wants a burrito. He watches the videos once, or tries to. Gets about 5 minutes into one, before slamming the laptop shut, like it personally betrayed him. Which, to be fair, it kind of did. He doesn't want to be a brand. He doesn't want a platform. He wants to figure out how buses work and why people care so much about pumpkin spice. But everywhere he goes, there he is on screens, in tags and hashtags. The world has opinions. The world has theories. The world has turned his survival into content. And honestly, he gets it. Humans are weird. They stare at train wrecks. They film them. They add lo-fi beats and a caption. But some days, when it's quiet, and he's just a person again, not a headline, not a case, not a broken thing with views. He eats his burrito. He takes a deep breath. And he turns off the Wi-Fi.
Like, comment, subscribe. More stories coming soon.